Joining me now for more on the CHIPS Act is Sourabh Gupta. He's a senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist at the Institute for China-America Studies. So can this CHIPS Act really make an impact in the U.S. midterm elections? And outside of New York State, does this resonate with voters?
No, it doesn't have a short-term impact, but it does have a very significant medium and long-term impact. And perhaps voters might see that medium and long-term impact as being impactful or important in the short term, that a lot of jobs will come in the future to New York State or to Arizona or to Ohio or to Texas, frankly, which are the main sites at which there are going to be chip fabrication plants. So yes, voters, I think, will give credit to Mr. Biden for these industrial policy actions, which will benefit them in the future.
You know, this has been in the making for a while, but how much of this act is political and how much of it is actually economic?
Actually, a lot of it is economic, simply, or say commercial. Simply, the U.S. needs to get its act going in terms of chip manufacturing. U.S. is a superpower in many segments of the chip sector, particularly the high value-added segments. The manufacturing segment is actually the blue-collar segment in the chip sector, but the U.S. has fallen way behind in that segment, in this lower value-added segment, and the U.S. wants to reshore or at least incentivize production. And I think it's important, the way it has gone about doing it, there are questions about it, but the importance of actually doing it, putting forth a CHIPS bill to incentivize private funding, I think is very important.
You know, lurking behind this is China-U.S. relations. This act restricts U.S. companies from trade and business counterparts in China. So long term, when it comes to technology, does it help more or hurt more than help? Because some argue out there that both countries really need each other when it comes to technology and growing this specific sector.
I would say specific to semiconductors, it actually might help the United States simply because China is pretty far down the line in terms of its core technological capabilities in the semiconductor sector. And therefore, from that perspective, the U.S. might see that this act is important. I would point out, though, that more than this act, it's the Advanced Computing and Semiconductors Rule that the Commerce Department put out, I think, two weeks back, which is the real damaging measure from the United States government in terms of decoupling U.S. and China in this sector. But I think the point is well taken, that at the end of the day, technology ecosystems cannot be divided on national boundaries, and that China is a very dominant player, particularly on the consumption side in the chip sector, and will be down the line even on the manufacturing side. And that by duplicating two supply chains, one a China-based supply chain, which the U.S. does not want, and a non-China-based supply chain, it's just adding to the cost, messing up the politics, causing friction in U.S.-China ties, and is not helpful, frankly, in the longer run for both parties.
Sourabh Gupta, thank you so much for joining us. Always great to get your take.